talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about anything, Sean.
Okay. So hello everyone. We're back for another week. Jean wasn't able to join us, so hopefully she's enjoying school. It's last week of school. And I am excited about that myself. Can you see me? I don't know. I look frozen.
You're like frozen. You are frozen. Your face is
Let
anything.
me. Oh man, hold on. I don't know if I
You're
remove
excited for
myself.
the last week of school, meaning right, because you guys are in school with kids, and okay, I get it.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see if I go out and I come back in. I'm sorry.
Rashad and cards.
Can you see me now?
Nope.
No.
It's just me here on the live. Hello, everyone. Rashad's getting himself back. They're getting out of school, all the kids, so everybody's busy. We're talking psychic stuff. And here comes Rashad.
Let me go out. I'm sorry. Let me. Shit. I don't know how.
All right, I'm going to read the rune. So these are the runes. This is what the book looks like.
Yeah,
The symbol.
I'm here now.
And we're waiting for Rashad, but I'm just showing you. I'm never talking about it. Just killing time because you have us live and you're playing around with your computer, honey.
No, you're fine. Can you see me now?
Yeah, and you're moving and everything. It's a live
Okay.
version of Rashad. Hello.
Okay. So you're showing the book. What is
Oh,
the?
I was just gonna kill time and read the rune or something, just because I know what you're doing. I was just trying to. I knew we were live, so I was filling space. But no, we can just start chatting up. It's all good. So Rashad sent something to a thread that we all share. Those of us who have been kind of like using each other as reflections and mirrors to learn more about who we are as things change. And we've been joking about how much fun it would be to do like car rides and chat about cards and see what came out. And it was a video of a man, a psychic. How did he call himself, Rashad?
The seatbelt psychic.
The seatbelt psychic. And he was able to really like pull through some clarity for this couple and on point. And then we just started to talk about how psychicness is such a big part of what seems to be becoming alive in us. And how does psychicness work? Like when you know what's going to happen before it happens. Like how does that play out? Today's the 8 of clubs, the 8 of clubs week, right?
Yes, 8 o'clock week. So that's what we have been doing lately is going by the weeklies and the weekly events. And actually, yesterday was at 8 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. So there was
Correct.
a kind of a double emphasis on the 8 o'clock itself and the 8 o'clock week, and then next week is coming as a 9 o'clock week. And 9 o'clock was a couple of days before. We are in Gemini season, so thank God for that. But yeah, so as if you've seen the Aquarius was talking about the foreshadowing, the essence of foreshadowing from a particular daily energy going into the next week. So you may have seen like a little bit of next week's energy possibly comes up. So it's also interesting looking at the weekly. So even looking at the energy for yourself, look at like what you're doing in the weekly event, see if it correlates. So this is actually kind of like a testing as well. So you're looking and engaging with us and trying to look at the weeks in it, how important or how prominent it is for you, or if. And actually I see, and I was talking to someone about this, I see celebrities, and I use celebrities, and I use the news and media, because those people tend to, much as we think they're not spiritual people, they are spiritual in essence, because they follow their intuition for evil, good, bad, or worse. I think the essence of following your intuition is something that we were just speaking about, looking at the psychic, and how even when you envision things, you have no absolute control. And, you maybe see things, you may envision things, you may have this psychic intuition, or you may have the ability to know things, or even using your gifts, your powers, whatever it may be. or using this focused energy has gave you insight or some type of intuition along those lines. I think it's weird even looking at the seatbelt psychic, and then there's another guy, Tyler Henry, if I'm not mistaken. He's also a psychic. Let me make sure that I get that right. But he uses objects, so he's a medium of using objects, and they're mediums. Let me not just say psychic.
I remember going to some lady and her like taking my necklace or my ring and holding it and just like spitting, just like dropping a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, wow, look at that.
Yeah, well, the seatbelt psychic did that to a guy as well, an older black gentleman. And a lot of these people don't even believe in psychic abilities, which is interesting. I think that's another thing, like, to because I think everyone should, I'm not gonna say should experience it, because there's also like the Nana clubs who they say shouldn't be a part of, like, group seances, and Ada clubs actually has to be aware of people piercing their psychic veil as well. They may feel attacked, or the 5 of spades, 7 of spades, those people have to be aware of like how they may feel, or how they may take on psychic experiences, or how they may experience those things. So, but I do think it's a part of the church. I think it's like the cards and astrology, all those things were a part of the church, and they have their certain way that you go about doing it. Even so, the Nine of Clubs should be in a more personal setting, more private setting, anytime they take on those particular things. So I think everyone should experience it, because I think it's a part of gaining faith. Like we were saying earlier, you can go into the point of you can't really you find out you can't control time. Like you can't really control it, even though you feel it. I was talking about the guy. So the guy, he didn't believe it. So the seatbelt psychic took his ring and was like, "Can I use your ring?" And he started talking about the experiences with, I believe it was his brother, if I'm not mistaken. And then it was another episode with him and the pastor, and pastor was like, "Yeah, I don't believe any of that. I've had some of those things, and people have said all types of things. Usually that was wrong." And then he started diving into I believe his former wife or something like that. So yeah, those experiences are always kind of weird. And the King of Diamonds is actually the card, or one of the cards that is, when you run by, you may run across a psychic. I don't know. Did you know that? No. Yeah, so if you have a King of Diamonds in your spirit, Uranus, Jupiter, Mercury, or something, there's a possibility you may run across an older person, or someone with wisdom or psychic ability that may guide you into the right direction. So you were talking about your psychic experiences, or like you being able to see things and not control it.
Well, first though, I'm touched by the idea that in order to feel protected as a king, being psychic and intuitive would make sense to be one of the gifts that would come with that, right? Because you do have to be able to kind of oversee things a little bit. I mean, I would say that I experience life like a big bird sometimes. Like I'm able to kind of look at things from a pretty big picture and pay attention. Coming into the mundane is a little bit more insane for me, because I feel sensitive to the people's energies and want to accommodate and mother and nurture sometimes, being a mama. But yes, the psychic stuff the whole way through, and it would definitely be along the lines of just getting a sense of what was going to happen and seeing what was going to happen. And going, oh, wow. And then having to learn about it, right? Because initially I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to let that happen, or I'm going to stop that, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to make that happen. I thought all sorts of dumb shit like that, and I got some life lessons, and thankfully, again, my 8 of Clubs son, we learned together that you got to be really careful what you say, because you're manifesting all the time. So like, you got to watch that. You got to watch what you say, because like, say I think I'm being psychic, or I'm feeling a psychic hit, like, oh, be careful. You could crash your car or something like that. I could also be invoking that he crashes the car. Do you know what I mean? So it's important that I just put a prayer or just say, be safe today or this or that, because that particular kid had a good amount of car accidents in his life. And I would always sense something was going to happen or where he was going to go. But I actually learned not to say anything to him because it would piss him off so much. And then I was afraid I was sabotaging it. And there was another time where I met somebody and it was obvious to me that I was in something very deep and spiritual, and it had so much past to it. Like, if I can tell you, thousands of years I knew this person, and the energy between us was so old, but there was some real pain, and I had done some hurtful things. I had done some things in other lifetimes, and I had flashes of it and stuff, and I wasn't sure what to do about it and how to play it out. But it did, in fact, start to play itself out. And I recognized that even though I could see it and understood it and knew what was happening, it still had to play out. Like, I wasn't really here to control it. I was just more here to experience it from that wisdom that we're really interconnected between the lifetimes. And when we meet people, it's for the intention of healing and right relation, and that certain people, you're just going to reveal more of what needs to be healed. So I found my psychic stuff to work that way, but for sure, a sense of what's going to happen, or a real attunement to the people I'm close to and where they are and what they might need from me. I for sure was a person that my friends would often say, "How did you know to just call me? How did you know just to call me right now? Like, what made you do that?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know. I just picked up the phone and knew I needed to call you." So I kept talking, Rashad, while you went in and out, about some of my psychic experiences, sort of like what I told you earlier, and how I have to stay humble to it and know it's still playing out, and how it's sometimes interconnected from past lifetimes.
But I was like, it may be the operator error. I think I may have been using the room.
What are you saying? I can't hear you, honey.
Can you hear me?
No, I can. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that I had bought these headphones, but they sucked before. Let me see if they work. Are they working fine?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I can't see you anymore.
Okay. All right, I'm trying to log back on the computer because I wanted to show something. I don't know what's going on with my technology in this computer. But you were speaking about your friend and your psychic experiences. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just speaking about how the depth of what you can feel in a connection, and how there's usually a transformation that's part of it, and that I haven't been able to actually change it. If anything, once the psychic stuff became really strong and I started to pour the sweat lodges, I met these grandmothers, in a way, like spiritual grandmothers, like, I guess not ones that sit on the couch with me, but ones that sit in my heart with me. And they became guides. And specifically in that situation, I'm talking about with the with that psychic connection and that ability to see our past and our future. They really stayed close to me to help me. Like, they were trying to help me resolve something. I mean, I'll be transparent in it. The memory was being really hurtful to him because he was in a very sacred space, a teepee space, with another woman when we had a child together. And I became furious and violent. And so that was the memory. And then we had many experiences, ironically, in teepees and different things like that. And I was able to see and understand so much. And basically, I came to that, women have to share and this and that. But I felt so betrayed by, being such a loyal, monogamous type of person. And when I invest, I give everything. And to feel like somebody would be sneaky behind my back, it's not even being with someone else, it's the sneaky stuff that sent me crazy. And while we were in business together, he was so sneaky. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're driving me crazy. Like, you're being so sneaky. Like, ew, that's so gross. So, but meanwhile, it was all connected to this healing. And from the day I met him, I saw and flashed and understood. But I walked right into it because I also was somewhat in a spell, because it was mine to heal. And it also was a frequency. There was a space between us that was old, that I could
Mhm.
feel. And so That's a very, I mean, it's an interesting topic to imagine. Like you say these words, but it's like we're talking about the fact that we could be living over and over again. Like seriously, really, like you know what I mean? Like sometimes I'm like holding myself like I'm a scholar. Like let's see if we can prove this, and then I'm like I don't have to prove it. Like I think this is what's happening. You know, like what? You know?
No, yeah, and that goes into why I believe in the fact of soulmates. So this person that you had this experience, you said who was this?
What do you mean? You want
Or,
me
I don't know if you want to say the name,
well, yeah, I don't know
but
that.
I'm sorry,
I'll just
but
say I'll say he was a 10 of diamonds. He was,
okay, no, so no, I was just saying that it wasn't, but the fact that you had this experience, but in this lifetime, you're not but you're not in a relationship. Like you went through that experience in the past life,
right.
but within this particular lifetime, there's no attachment or there's no physical attachment to that relationship. It's something you experience, and
Yeah.
now within this particular lifetime there isn't the relationship, but there's still the memory of what happened. And so, even that in itself, we are still working out issues or we working out things that are happening from a past life, or we carrying that same emotional weight or that same emotional attachments to a past life, even the story you was talking about. Was
Rashad,
it your
it's true because I feel like the love I felt for him when I met him all came back,
mm, the
right?
memory?
But the memory, the depth of the love, like the way I really held him in my heart. And then as I went closer to it, and the energies were still where they were, and I could feel all of the hurt and the confusion. It actually helped me heal a lot of what was probably still in my resonance towards letting me surrender to the masculine. Because whether it's in this lifetime or another, when you're seemingly betrayed, or somebody like says I want ice cream over there and I don't want your ice cream anymore, and doesn't tell you until they're already eating the ice cream, that feels bad. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't feel good when people do that. So I would say that with this particular person, it was 100% frequency. It was an energy frequency, like it was a vibration that I felt. And that I do believe that it was a reclaiming of part of me, almost like a soul retrieval energy. But I was drawn in like a fly to the honey. I was just like, zoom, like it was hard not to go into it. Like it had its own power in it. So again, with that soulmate, and because twin flame was in the air, I was like, oh, we're supposed to this, we're supposed to that. And it did fuck up the game for me, mess up the game for me, because I did start to project illusion and romantic stuff into it. And I think it did complicate the cleanness and the healing that was there to happen. Because once those feelings of that deep connection, that soulmate, that twin flame energy, we start to write stories in our head. And then the next thing you know, you're making chemical reactions to the stories you're telling. And then you're acting in a way that may not be true to what's actually happening.
Mm, yeah. The and not to say that is, I think everyone has perspectives, of course, even looking at the cards. But the essence of the twin flame, but because there also, like you said, there's the essence of it could be something of the past life, or it could be something previous, so not to say that it's not happening, but it's your perception of what's happening, and is it being done to you, or is it being done for you, for your greater good, or what is your experience and how you're taking it on. I think that's one thing about the fixed cards is they do have to be careful of people and psychism, and as a discipline, or as anything, because don't let it penetrate who they are or change who they are, because they're very fixed cards, and fixed cards, they are like that because there's this fixed vibration of what happens. So they also it can be their in their detriment as well, with that particular energy. Um, but yeah, the whole process of, I think, using your psychic ability or your experiences with it, is going to affect your emotional, I think, experiences with something, and you do have to kind of be careful and how you let it affect you. And going into the story, like with you and that guy, it how do you, when you first seen it happen, or when you first kind of, your first experiences, was you like, okay, this is like something from a past life? Did you ever have those experiences before, or was it kind of new, or what, like, have you ever had something like that happen?
Uh, yeah, there's a few people that are pretty familiar to me in my life. I would say he was the most significant, and it was a timing thing, right? So let's just like, so here's like strong, independent, probably did my last few lifetimes on the the solo path, you know what I mean? Even my astrology says so. And here I am coming in learning to partner. Seemingly there's some wound of some hurt or some way that I got, twisted long ago that stayed with me as I kept going. And here comes Shiny Boy with like the biggest smile you could imagine, offering me like handmade chocolates at a fire at a festival right after I got separated from Miles. Right. So
Okay.
Miles and I are separated, and this guy pops into the scene. And next thing you know, I'm like in an enchanted dream. He's a Pisces. He's like all water signs. He's a very, so I take the ride. But what I noticed is that it was so timely. It happened for me age and stage wise, like right in my 51, 52, like it was perfectly designed to help me remember, like bring back all my parts
You
and
say it was at 52,
51 in
51? Wow.
2015, right after my birthday. I met him in August 2015.
Oh
I just
wow. Okay.
turned 51. Yeah. So it was huge because it opened up my heart so much, right? Because that's the thing about those familiar energies. They're heart openers, right? Because it's like you feel like you're touching home base. You're like, oh my God, it's you. Wow, I can't believe it. Wow, let's have a party. I can't believe it's you. And then you're like, oh, it's you. Oh, it's you.
And that's the soulmate part energy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like that's one reason I believe in soulmates and this fix this. That's why I said, like, it's not happening. But go ahead. I'm sorry. But yeah, so you look at him and it's like, is you?
No. I mean, so I just find that when I reflect on it now, that I can see how it pushed me out into the world to go and meet people and to go to festivals and to show up with my character. It pushed me in the heart story to admit my vulnerability. It revealed my weaknesses in relationships because he was also touched by the experience, but a younger person and not necessarily caught up in some of the heaviness that might have been in the longer years of my life. And he'd often say, accept it like it is and speak what you want. Like, don't go to the despair, get out of that heaviness, and ask for what you want. And I think a lot of mom archetypes can become resentful and burdened by doing for others and not articulating their needs. So the classroom for learning how to express my needs, the classroom for coming into the public and expressing myself. Like, golly, if you knew how hard it was for me to sing out loud in front of people, like it took
Mm,
years to get me to do that. And he was such a gentle pusher to get me to do it because he had heard me sing and he was like, you got to do it. Come on. Do you know what I mean? So he helped me make my CD. You know what I mean? So,
oh wow.
and the first thing we talked to each other about was that Way Will Open song. I'm like, I wrote this song and I know I have to give it to the world. Can you help me? You know what I mean? That was like our first night conversation. He was like, yeah. So as we ended the friendship or went different directions, that was a piece of the puzzle as he played and sang with me in that song. So it became like a classroom of my heart and how to open my heart fully to love and experience, even though the person could hurt you so much. Do you know? Because I did become very confused and hurt by our dynamic. But a lot of that was because, yes, there was the psychic connection, but there was also the human projection. And the human projection into those romantic illusions, when the Disney imprint runs us so hard, can really make it complicated to be able to just let whatever the magic is that's supposed to happen between two people unfold, and to speak it into life and not pull back or be afraid of it.
So the vision, or that, like you said, so the essence of your vision, and you're a king of diamonds, just FYI. Sandy Johnson was asking, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if y'all want me to call your name full out, but I was asking about which card are you, and I'm trying to see the combination card. So yeah, what is the combination with the King of Diamonds? Thank you for that. So I'm not
King
sure
of Diamonds
who.
and the 10 of Diamonds, you mean?
The King of Diamonds and the
36
Ten
and
of Diamonds.
39? So what is that?
And Grocia, the mathematician, knows all the numbers. I seen that. She was like, I'm still trying to learn them. Like going through like, what is that? 25. That's Queen of Clubs. Like I'm trying to still add them up in my head, but she has them all down to the T. So 39 and 36, correct?
Right. So that's 75
That's
minus
55.
oh wow, that's 22. No, 23.
23.
10 of clubs.
No, it's 7. No.
Well,
So the
36 and 39, that's 60 plus 15 is 75, minus 52 is 23. And 23's number is 10 of clubs, because 26 is the king of clubs.
No, I was talking about she was talking about this she thought you was a 7 of clubs. Yeah.
No.
But no, yeah, you added up faster than me. I was not the top math student.
No,
I had to grow in math. I am not that fast in my feet. I do love the essence of it though. Because I
But
have to go into it.
in that reflection though, the 10 of clubs is Groisha.
Oh really?
And Groisha
Oh
was
my gosh.
kind of born through that time.
Wow.
I was calling myself Groisha with my family, you know what I mean? I'd put it into my stuff in the backdrop because I thought it was funny, but that was really the full-on expression of Groisha, and me going to festivals and meeting so many young people and making music. And so it really did bring me back, you know what I mean? As much as it was hard to accept that I could be so mean to another girl. Like that's one of the things I've learned a lot about in my last 10 years of my life, is how it was really hard to share with other girls. How whatever the layers of my independence or my comfort were, I preferred what was mine to be mine, and I didn't want to share it.
Oh,
And
one
so
second.
I'm
I'm on mute. One second.
recognizing that that is a part of life, especially in the the polyamory, or just like, families coming together. What do they call that? I'm not thinking of the word, when you're like joining families, or by baby mamas, baby daddies. Like there's so much that we're being asked to do that's revolves around sharing. So sharing love, sharing your heart, and trusting that your heart's big enough, and so's their heart's big enough to love who they love and love that person. Like I can have, now I know I have my ex-husband, who's the father of my first two children, who I fucking love that dude. Like, I mean, I truly appreciate him wholeheartedly. I don't want to even consider what my life would be like without him. But it doesn't change how much I can love Miles, or how much I love the 10 of Diamonds, or how much I love Rashad. Like it doesn't, we're allowed to love more than we thought. That's really my prayer right now, is to get comfortable welcoming in the expansion of my heart, so I can easily love people without feeling some kind of like, like I'm a bad person because I'm loving too many people, like I'm giving away too much of my heart. When, yeah, of course I can love each person, just with transparency and clarity. So I find that whole time was a real classroom to make sure that if I were going to have a partnership, it was going to be a good partnership and a healthy partnership, and all this garbage wasn't going to get projected into it. Because if I stayed wounded from that lifetime with him, I wouldn't maybe trust the man who wants to love me, because I'd be projecting onto him that they were going to hurt me the way I was hurted another time. Hasn't anyone else ever done that? I don't think I'm the only person who does that one.
And like you said, the vision or the ability for you to kind of see that is kind of the protection as well, because that psychic experiences, and kind of how we got into it, kind of, I guess, to kind of reset I know we can go a lot of different places sometimes.
So you keep going in and out, so I'm just kind of just going. I'm trying to keep
I
up.
know, but we were talking about psychic experiences, and the reason we got into it because the Eight of Clubs is one of those particular cards that deals with psychic experiences. Again, it is an Eight of Clubs week, and but so using those experiences is actually a protection. The Eight of Clubs in itself sometimes should not impose or have those particular experiences. Other particular cards, Nine of Clubs, I was saying Seven of Spades, which is Seven of Spades is actually one of those cards that is displacing you in the spiritual spread in Jupiter Uranus, so you actually in the Seven of Spades, I think the Seven of Spades have those type of experiences. I do know, like, even like sometimes I was asking someone yesterday about, like, so when you experience it, does it just flow off your tongue? Like, do you even know it's happening? Because me and my experiences, I can just freeze, and like everything around, like that's so Raising used to be one of my favorite shows, right? When I was younger, not even knowing like what, like. So one time I was out at a club and I was walking, right, and I just froze, and like the object became so important, like it just like it. I zoned in on the object, and I was like, "You should move your car." And I didn't. And so 30 minutes later, a guy comes over the broadcast and is like, if you have a 300 Chrysler, come outside because someone just hit your car. I was like, are you serious?
I hate that shit.
So,
I hate when I don't listen. I've had like so many times. I'm like, I heard that. I knew not to do that. Like, I'm just like that. I swear, I think that's the instant gratification and the just now, more. Because I believe if we go at a pace that is of the grace and the highest frequency, we will be guided very deliberately, and we will know more than we realize. But when you're going and you're just wanting to, okay, oh yeah, I know, but oh wait, oh hi, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm just like, what? My purse? I left my wallet, or like the thing that I'm just like, oh, I knew that. And so I definitely have made commitments to my intuition over the years. I have gotten really mad at myself for knowing stuff and then not doing it. I'm like, you get this gift, they tell you, and then you don't listen. Like, what are you doing, Madeline? You gotta listen. But it's hard to listen when you want to do what you want.
No, yeah, it is. It's very hard to listen. I think that's one of the toughest things is in trusting your intuition and knowing it, that it is going to happen. It's for your benefit and it's not for your detriment as well, and not trying to fight it. Even just the aspect of looking at Fitz cards and looking at Fitz karma, like, or certain things. It's kind of, and I have the Eight of Clubs being one of those cards that can possibly become psychic, but they have to be trusting within themselves. So we're having this conversation, right?
That's exactly true. The eldest, who is the Eight of Clubs, he, like me, something will be going on, and I won't even tell anybody in the family what's going on, but he'll know what's going on, and he'll call me and be like, what's going on, Ma? How are you? What's happening? And then, like, I said, what, why? And he's like, I had a dream of this, or I saw this, or I'm wondering about this. And it's like so on point. And I'm like, yep, that's what's happening. And he's just like, are you all right? And I said, yeah, well, I mean, I'm obviously riding the wave, I'm surfing the board. I'm doing my best with it, but yeah, it sucks. And he's like, yeah, okay, I just thought of you. So like, or when something's about to happen, he'll come in and be like, Mom, I think we just want to go a little, so like, he'll say things like that. But not like, you have to this. He's not of that nature, you know what I mean? But he'll definitely drop a light touch on me saying like, something's coming, Mom. Like, even with this Saturn return stuff, he goes, it's going to be a lot, but I think you got the main thing. He said to me that he goes, I think your life's about to get more amazing than you can even imagine, Mom. And I think that's going to be harder for you than the problems that you've dealt with your whole life. He's like, I think it's about to go, and you're going to be like, a whole different type of issues, nothing like the ones you've had before. Like, it's a whole nother turn. So I said, yeah, that probably is a little bit more uncomfortable because, being able to survive and get in the grit and just keep quiet and work hard, that's different than coming out and receiving the flowers, if you will, and laughing and finally being Carol Burnett and being funny and all the things I dream. Like, even talking about it, I feel like my belly and I feel my tears well up because I'm just like finally I can see myself. Like that'd be so great.
Even you were talking about going into the essence of manifestation and power of words. You were talking about, and that's one thing before you cut out. I was wanting to ask, like, you said your clubs, your son is the eight of clubs, right? It's funny because the eight of clubs, they say sometimes will find they love king diamond women, right? And they may find the king of diamonds. The eight of spades loves the king of diamonds as well. So those eights and the king of diamonds, there's a connection there somehow, huh? And you're right, saying that they do have a past life margin, and kind of you can kind of see that, right, as far as them coming together and working together with.
That's so crazy. He's an eight of clubs, and I have it's like a pseudo daughter. Like I knew her since she was in her mom's belly, and she's an eight of spades. And those two and me, like I tell you, like we get each other. Like
The eight of clubs.
Eight of clubs, eight of spades, and
spades.
they were both like, so she was around us a lot when John was growing up. She was a lot younger, but she's in our family in a certain way, and she's an eight of spades. And today I have an eight of spades day and an eight of spades year. So, and I have seen that. I've definitely seen there's an affinity to me and the eight of clubs.
And not to confuse, I was talking about the right as far as the 10 of diamonds Mars connection to you, but yeah, the eight of spades connection. That will actually, what's the connection with that? There'll be a Pluto connection. So,
so you're talking
that's a Mars. The you and the eight of spades in the spiritual spread is Mars together. So that's still, it's still that working creative energy. To I think, especially the Mars is definitely like a past life, like a it's one of those energies I think is pretty prominent within the spreads. You can look at your Pluto card, and 9 times out of 10 in a relationship book, they're gonna say that's gonna like a karma or you're gonna have a connection. Even it's like me and my mom is a Pluto connection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you and the eight of spades is a Pluto connection.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is the 10 of diamonds? Because the 10 of diamonds is now with an eight of hearts and married with a baby.
Yeah. So they will Mars with you in the past life. The connection with the eight of hearts is a Jupiter connection. So there is marriage in certain instances, depending on male, female. He's the guy. So for her, it's actually Mars, Mercury, Venus, Mars. So Jupiter for him and Mars for her. So, it may be a little opposite of what you may think of a Jupiter-Mars connection and what it may create, but still, still marriage, and it comes out. And that's a vertical connection in the past life as well with them. So you see these energies play out a lot of times. And the way that you're talking about the eight of clubs and having to watch what you say, I think is very important, because the eight of clubs do have to understand the power of the mind. And I think that's another thing with not being peers, having to be fixed, because people can sway you. Once you get something is ingrained in your mind and is fixed, or you create, like you said, this vision, or like these expectations of within a relationship and what a relationship's supposed to be, it can affect the way that things play out. And I was watching something yesterday. He was talking about everything comes from the eye. Everything is based on suggestion. Even your conversation is based upon the suggestion of the mind. So what you're susceptible to, what you're speaking and what you're suggesting to yourself is actually a calling of events to happen. The conversation.
Like dialing a phone number. It's like dialing a phone number to get something. Like, I mean, when he and I, here was a section of time that we were all living in the same place, and we've written on the wall, like, speak what you want. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like you're speaking your life into existence, So, and once I could fully let go, and of course, I was rebounding in a way that I'd come out of a long marriage, and I had always wanted a spiritual partner to do work with, and Miles wasn't necessarily wired like that at that time, and he was in a different space. So I definitely probably got my fingers into it more than I needed to. And that would start those kind of things you're saying, like, it's going to be this, we have to that. It's like, no, it's going to be perfect as it is. And you have to allow it to unfold and speak what you want. I want everyone to be what they're here to be in the most valuable way for their frequency and for their community. You know, I want to see the gifts shared with people evenly and balanced, you know, like not like I want mine and it's gotta be like this and I gotta have this ring and I gotta have this house and blah blah blah. You know, it's like no, it's like, you know, it's like that's not speaking what you want. Like it's like that's like speaking maniacal. I mean, I get that you want to have luxuries, but the luxury is the freedom to be expressed and for others to be expressed in their gifts. Like we might be a whole shitload more psychic, all of us, and able to do much more stuff when we're not holding ourselves into the little box of the Disney movie.
And being pure with inside yourself. And then that's why I said, like, if they know what they want and they have this and being sure of yourself, but then also that takes a discovering values and knowing what you want and what's good for the all and everyone, you know, working on reciprocity, you know, not being too dependent within your relationship. So it takes a lot of different types of skill sets, I think, to understand and to use it as like not using this mental power for and that's I think that's at the clubs, right? Or at a space is not using this power to as your advantage. I kept saying advantageous, I think the last episode. I think I may have been using it wrong, just FYI. Let me correct that. but I had got that word from one of the books that was talking about one of the cards being advantageous or using their luck or whatever it is, using everything to their advantage, but not using everything you know, out of sense of greed, you know, because you can be fixed, you can get stuck, you know, and think you want something just because you want it. But like you said, that's the advantage of knowing and having the intuition, so it can release, so you don't have to be stuck into this state of mind. And that's one thing from that psychic, seatbelt psychic. A lot of people in their experiences they discovered who they were and a sense of change, you know, and the outlook of what they had around this reality. Like you said, it's a lot of different lifetimes that we can actually be living at now, you know. Like you said, the 5-year-old that I sent, like she was a person from a whole different lifetime, but she still came and brought those same emotions, same pain and all those things here. And she didn't understand what happened. And her mom brought her the book and was like, this is what happened in your past life. This is who you was, you know, this girl looks like you. And she was like, yeah, that she looks just like me, Mom. She's 5-year-old talking about this lady from 1452 looks like her.
Amazing. I want to keep going there, but it's 10 o'clock. But like, I have so many thoughts about that we should definitely continue in this.
No, you're fine.
And I will just say, like, one of the bumps that myself and the Ada Clubs has had is he can be a little bit of that nature to make sure he's getting a little bit more than everybody, like a little bit of that greed stuff. And I've never really thought that was a good idea. I've always been like, how does that feel good? Like, I get like it feels good because you feel like you got bank, but like that means that people go for you because you got bank, but also like you're not like being fair. Like you're consciously using other people to make you more comfortable than them. Like that sounds like that slave game. No, like I don't know. Like I just don't think that's the way to be nice with each other anymore. And it'd be like, oh, you don't understand money. I was like, I do understand money. I always have money, but I'm always fair with my money. I don't want to have more than anybody to show anything. Like it never made sense to me, you know what I mean? So
in their defense, I will say they do have a knack for making money if they find the correct field and a sense. I think 8s are the gathering of resources. You know, they want to proclaim and claim their stake, and the 6 of diamonds is one of those cards for consuming and retirement or putting up money for later on. So it's like this thing of hoarding.
Yeah, they might be better off long term than me. It's true. They might have better systems than I have for that. I might be giving away too much. I'm not going to deny it's somewhere in the middle. I'm just saying my response to greed is like,
no, it's a balance. I was just saying it's a thin line. It's a thin line.
I'm not, but like I just know that when I start to get motivated by like, how much can I get?
I'm not making an excuse for him. Yeah. But I definitely understand it's a thin line in how you play it. But yeah, there is definitely a conversation we can take on
Yeah, I
as
would love
well.
that.
But I know you have to go, so I appreciate has been. I know this conversation was everything weird, but it was the 8 of clubs, and it was definitely in alignment. So I appreciate everyone, and hopefully you got some gems from watching it back. And we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, Shad. See you soon, honey. Bye.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
I don't know how to get out.
No, you're fine. I can so yeah, we appreciate everyone. I've never kind of stayed on after. I may have a few minutes if y'all have a question or two. I know there's 2 people in here right now. So hello before I get off. So, but if y'all don't have a question, I'll leave. So I'll take a question or two. It's like I hate to just jump off and not leave y'all with anything. No questions. Okay. All right. So thank y'all. Well, I'll head out as well, and we'll be here next week. And this is definitely a club's conversation. And next week, just FYI, we'll be going into the 9 of clubs, and hopefully Gina will be able to join us next week. And if you have any questions, DM me on Instagram at Rashad and Cards. And I'm looking at some name changes, and there's also a particular clothing line I will be launching around the cards as well. So it'll be customized and catering to you as the people and watchers and studiers of the science. So that if there's concepts of soulmates, as we were speaking about, of course there'll be like fun art that'll be related to the cards as well. So if you have suggestions or anything that you want to have made for you, because it's like, I think it's kind of cool to walk around like I'm a 3 of diamonds and I can walk around with me on my shirt, and spark the conversation as with that as well. You have family and friends, you can buy them their shirts and be like, hey, not even, and so everything will be uplifting as well, but it have also the humorous ups and downs, like the called 3 of diamonds robbing Peter to pay Paul. So I definitely have my moments where I have been in the middle of making deals for people, and it would seem like I'm trying to rob people to pay Paul, but it did not happen like that. But that's the 3 of diamonds, being in the middle of business, being in the middle of the creation of things. So these are all concepts I will be bringing towards the cards and the shirts and the clothing line. So look out for that on my Instagram. Make sure you check out Dope Minerals with Gina, who's going through a fabulous rising in the Phoenix and changing a lot of things with her. So that is something that's going to be like, she is about to blow up. And of course, growing with the season with Croatia, she's also catering to children and taking upon counselships through her practice. She is a licensed psychologist, so you can also indulge into their practices as well, making sure that you support them. I'm not sure. We'll have that conversation around probably next week. I'll see if she can talk about more of her practices and what she brings to the table also. So I appreciate everyone. We'll see you all next week, and thank you for coming to the card table.